Can Suno AI really be used as a tool for music creation? There's a huge divide in the music community right now. Today I'm gonna be reacting to a video by a 50-year music veteran, producer, and musician, Lou Pomanti, sharing his thoughts on Suno AI and how it can be incorporated in our workflow. So make sure you stay tuned to the very end of this video because there's decades worth of game and context is key when it comes to new and emerging technologies. Without further ado, let's get into it.
Musicians and producers are split on this topic. And the feeling I get is that the less experienced you are with the actual production of music, the more excited you are about Suno. The more hours and years and decades that you've logged painstakingly producing records and writing music and writing tracks, the less excited you are about it. When I think of the hours and hours through the 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and 2020s that I've spent looking for the perfect kick sound, the perfect snare sound, the perfect bass sound, the perfect, synth pad. That feels like that's over now. The drum sounds and fills are so good in Suno that I don't know how much I'll be doing with the. I don't think I'm going to be doing that much anymore.
Yeah, that's definitely true on what I've seen so far as well. It seems like there's people who are songwriters, people who just aspire to create music, who are really jumping in head first when it comes to Suno. There is a little bit of, that whole I spent all this time learning my instrument, learning how to pick, like he said, sound selection. For me, stacking drums, pitching drums, collecting kits from all over the place. And then now it's just like it could just be prompted in. So as technology changes, we have to adapt and grow along with it. But there is, to be perfectly honest, there is that bit of frustration that people are able to just instantly create these good sounding pieces of music without learning the process on how you actually get there. So
this ethical question about what's organic, what's human, and what's robotic. Now, I have to tell you, in 1983, when I was 25 years old in Toronto, I became extremely busy in the studio scene in Toronto, and I became a top call session player in Toronto, if not the top call keyboard player. And I was the synth guy. I had just gone to the bank and got a bank loan for $5,800 to buy my Roland Jupiter 8. 6 months after that, I got my DX7 as soon as they came out. So I was this guy. Within 2 years, that had expanded into a rack of about 20 synthesizers. When I came on the scene with that Jupiter 8 and that DX7, it was like, whoa. And so I remember there were pickets in LA with musicians, no synths, no synths. And I can remember me being looked at by some older members of the session player community, like with their nose up in the air, like, who is this guy? He's a disruptor. He's going to take all our jobs. Now, of course, I didn't take all their jobs. And synthesizers have become a tool, but let's face it, they've become an omnipresent tool. They're everywhere. And modern pop music now is basically made on a laptop.
Yeah, that's an interesting point as far as technology, replacing people. I recall there was a video, as an interview by a popular, very talented producer, Terrace Martin, where he spoke about how the drum machine started to replace session musicians in LA and other types of technology. And, that was really a staple for a lot of people, getting those studio session work, getting called in. That's really how they were able to sustain themselves. Unfortunately, technology gets better and better, and then we start to see the need for people shrink more and more. It looks like for Lou as well, this was something that occurred with him, and he was one of the people who actually were, up front, taking those positions with the new technology as far as with synthesizers. And it's just creating this interesting trend of just less and less people interacting with each other. Let's get back into the video.
You can take this all the way back to the Luddites. It's like when people finally started to learn to read and write for themselves, the Luddites were all up in arms because we're out of a job. Well, that's progress. And you can't really stop that. And once technology is here, whether it's people being able to read and write, or the weaving loom, or the electric car, which put all the horse people out of business, whatever that story is, you gotta bite that bullet because it's here and it's not going anywhere. And Suno is here and it's not going anywhere. I wanted to talk about something that is that I don't feel has been talked about anywhere yet. And that is, we all know how Suno learns music. It scours the internet and finds as much music it can do. It gobbles it up, stems it out, learns all the parts, sees the difference between 70s Philly soul and 80s hair metal, and so that it can regurgitate it in a way that I don't really understand. I don't really understand how it makes audio files out of nothing. That I don't understand. Someone will have to explain that to me. But because it has scoured the internet and listened to collectively all of our favorite music, when I listen to an AI track now, the singer will sing something, the AI singer will sing something, and I'll go, that's Paul Carrack. Or the drum track, I'll go, that sounds like Porcaro and Rosanna. And so what I think what we're left with is, aside from the copyright issue, which is for another time, what that does, it's because it scoured all the favorite music of our lives, that when you listen to an AI-generated track, there's a sense of nostalgia that you feel with it because it's sourcing the music you grew up with. So even though it's not note for note, and it may not be the exact sound, and it may be displayed as an anagram, for me, there's a sense of nostalgia when I hear this music. And
yes, Lou was spot on with that. You know, the other day I heard some AI music, and the first thing I said to myself was, that's Anita Baker. But I couldn't quite put my finger on what song it was, but it sounded like Anita Baker, and I couldn't shake that. You know, like you mentioned, there is definitely that copyright issue as far as how that piece of music that I heard at least got to that point, because it's just lifting, you know, people's creative intellectual property, and that goes into a whole different world of, you know, ownership and intellectual property ownership, and the people who create the actual music already having issues with ownership. The fact that I heard that piece of music and I instantly thought of a person's name, and I'm glad Lou came to the same conclusion as I did. You know, you can instantly think of a name. It's not just 80s pop or 90s R&B. When you can think of a specific name like that, I think that's a little, how do y'all feel about that? Let me know in the comments. I think that's a bit much. That's a bit, you know, we're kind of getting into some dangerous territories, at least in my personal opinion. It's just a little too much, you know. Let's go ahead and get back into the video.
For me, there's a sense of nostalgia when I hear this music, and nostalgia in music is everything. I mean, there's no art form in the world as good as music, where you can hear a song and all of a sudden you're 16 years old, you're in a pickup truck, and your first girlfriend is sitting next to you. Music is the best at that. So I think this is a very hidden power of AI music, in that even though it's not your favorite song, there are elements to this new AI track that make you think of your favorite song, or it's a sound that makes you think of when you were younger. Anyways, the jury's still out as far as I'm concerned on whether I'm going to continue using this. But right now I'm deep into it. I'm 2 weeks in, and I'll keep you posted.
Yeah, speaking of nostalgia, some producers are even generating their own soul samples on platforms like Suno and chopping them up and then creating their own beats around that. But with that, you know, Suno is trained on pre-existing materials. So all you producers out there who are chopping up Suno samples, you know, that doesn't mean that you're in the clear just because you generated it. You could still run into some legal issues. So guys, you know, have fun with it. Of course, be careful at the same time. And also, I'm glad to see that Lou is actually at the point where he's trying Suno out. Like you mentioned before, sometimes more seasoned producers just get to the point where they just, you know, bury their hand in the sand and just pretend like it doesn't even exist. But things are changing, things are moving, and you need to at least know how the platform works, how to create music, how to create sounds, even if you don't plan on keeping it in your compositions. I've seen some comments in some of my videos. Some people say, you know, I'm going to go ahead and take the Suno out, and then I used what was created as a base so I can create my my own composition on top of that. Some people are doing it that way. So, you know, guys, at least try out Suno, explore. And like I said before, man, there's going to be recording artists and clients and people that you work with who are eventually going to want you to execute some tasks that you could only do at the speed that generative AI can actually execute. So you don't want to be caught with your pants down in the middle of a studio session due to the fact that you're just totally blocking out AI, totally acting like Suno doesn't exist, and you're just kind of still living, you know, in the past couple of years. You're not actually evolving and adapting. So you can still come to your own conclusions on whether you feel like it's ethical and some of the intellectual property issues, and at least comprehend how it actually functions and how it actually works. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you hit like and subscribe. My name is Desmond A, and I'll be back with more great videos. Peace. Wait, before you go, make sure you go to DesmondASounds.com, where you can get free FL Studio Patcher plugins, free loops, free guides, everything you need to level up your music production. Once again, go to DesmondASounds.com or click the link in the description. Go there now and totally transform your music production.